Alright, so next step will be disassembling the x-axis. Everything with the y is complete as far as I can tell. Everything looks like it's going to function properly. I'm leaving the steppers unplugged so that if I have to move the bed or if I have to spin the Z, I have all the steppers unplugged, so nothing's going to backfeed into the board. So the next step is going to be disassembling the X carriage, X gantry, whatever you want to call it. Yes, I have a lot more energy because it's the morning. So we are going to be moving to, obviously, the longer bracket. So Mark says he has certain holes drilled. I think it goes this way. He says he has certain holes drilled and tapped. Actually, no. I think that was about right. This way. So he has certain holes drilled and tapped for the original carriages to be mounted. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to try and take a different approach with this video. Just pause it and then come back. So I only have to upload one video and then it's pretty much done. So this next upload batch is probably going to be about 3 videos. Hopefully I could get this X gantry done on one video. Alright, so I've taken one carriage off and then slid the extruder head, or the hot end head, completely off. Now, something I noticed with the old one, if you look here, see the holes are threaded from the, and then they screw in from the back. So adjusting the X gantry to make it level is quite a process, quite more of a process than it has to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these out, and then I'm going to modify Mark's kit a little bit. So what I'm going to do is these holes that are threaded, I'm going to drill them out a little further, just a little bit bigger, and then I'm going to rethread these holes. Or no, I'm not going to rethread these holes. I'm going to just drill these out. Sorry, scratch that. I'm going to just drill these out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread this bracket right here. And this is a steel bracket. It's not aluminum, I don't think. Is it steel? Oh no, it is aluminum. But I'm still going to thread it anyway. It's just like threading the extrusion. The extrusion's hollow, so it's not very thick aluminum, if you see there. So it's not very thick aluminum. This should be thick enough for me to thread and be able to tighten and loosen screws here. So I'm going to be able to adjust the x-axis, and I'll have direct access to the screws right from here. That's going to be my my little modification I'm doing here. Because I want to be able to, when it's on and riding the extrusions, I want to be able to adjust it. I don't know if you could see that. Are you in frame when I do that? No, you're not. Okay. So I want to be able to, when it's on, I want to be able to level this. So I won't have to take it off in order to loosen these just enough to level it. Because right now they're just barely tight enough that I can wiggle it just a little bit. I think that's how I did it, so that I got it to level. But I don't want to have to rely on a semi-loose bolt to be holding me level. So what I'm going to do is, like I said, drill these out, thread this, drill the holes out on the extrusion, thread the bracket that holds the carriage wheels, and then I'll be able to just put bolts in straight, and then I can just level it, tighten up, and then it's done, and it's nice and leveled, and I don't have to take the machine apart just to freaking level it. I thought that was pretty asinine by design, so I'm going to improve that. Alright, so if you guys want to do this mod as well, here's what I'm doing. I removed this decal. I mean, obviously it's for scanning or whatever, but I don't. I'm not going to scan that thing ever, probably. So I can access these bolts. When you take these bolts out, this whole piece comes off, and that's the just the thing that holds the limit switch. All right, I'll take that off real quick. All right, so not only will that top carriage come loose, but those bolts go right into the stepper motor. So you could just set that to the side, and now you have something nice and easy that you can access here. You can access these holes to tap them much easier, if that is the plan you want to go with. But I think it's the way to go, so I'm doing it. So just to make things seem a little easier for you, these holes are actually the same size as the holes on the extrusion that you would have had to tap. So you would use the same exact tap for those holes. You just got to get the bolts that will fit. So here's the M5 .8 tap. Is it 0.8? Oh no, this one's my 0.9. 1 second, I could get my 0.8. I have it over here somewhere. You know what? I'll find it and I will come back. Alright, so the M5 0.8 tap, just so you can see, it fits perfectly and is ready to thread. So you don't have to mess with this at all other than just threading it. The only issue I see that people might have are these. You're not going to be able to fit a bolt past the extrusion, and you're not really going to want to slide a bolt in there and then flip it. It's just not going to work. So I'm going to put this on my drill press, and I'm going to open these up just a little bit, open the track up just a little bit. It doesn't matter on this side because the X gantry rides on this side. It rides on the top and the bottom, so it's just going to be going along that way. So this, you can mess with this all you want. I mean, as long as it's not, you don't mess with it to the point where it's pushing out and blocking things. But if you have a drill press or a steady hand with a drill, I would really recommend a drill press, just because you're drilling on something just two faces, and it's gonna wanna pull, and you might not get a good hole there. So or mark, if you want to maybe drill that instead, maybe have this be part of your kit, be modifying the gantry so that you can level it easier. I think that would be the best idea, because just the way you have to level this thing is just so asinine that you have to take it all apart. So that's something I would make part of the kit. Maybe instead of tapping these holes out, you just put an extra what do you call it? You just drill this out so you can fit a head of a bolt through it. Yeah, I think that's the way to go. I'm about to go do that, and I'll be right back. Now, if you watched my other threading video, I'm going to thread these the same exact way, with only well, I shouldn't say same exact way, only a slight modification. What I'm going to do is just do one little drop of oil on the tap itself, and then I'm going to just hold it and thread it, because I can't, because leaning on something and whatnot, it's just not going to, so I'm going to just try and do this in frame. You just want to get it as straight as you can. See if I can get that at the light. And this thing is going through like butter. So, nice and easy. Look at that. You don't have to go in that far, but I like to do that just to get clean tap through it. You get some clean tap through it, and then you know it's going to be good. This was easier to do than the extrusion. honestly. So if that's something that you were willing to do, you might want to go ahead and do it. Here, let me get a bolt so that you can see. In my opinion, a great idea. What I would do is, if you don't have any lock washers or whatnot, get some blue Loctite and put some blue Loctite or thread locker or whatever you want to call it onto the end of these threads, so that when you do thread it through, it'll coat the threads, and then it'll be less likely to get loose over time. I like to use blue, but honestly, with electronic components around, I would probably just use blue, because you want to be able to take it out without putting heat to it. So blue thread locker is medium hold. Should work out perfectly fine. I have it. I have some right here, but I've had it so long that the labels come off and you can't really see what it is. But yeah, I forget the actual thread locker number, but just ask for blue thread locker, medium hold, and that'll be good enough at any hardware store. Okay, I'm back from the garage. As you can see, I made those holes bigger. I went from a 3/16 up to a 7/32, and then on the other side it's a little messy, but I went from a 5/16 up to a 3/8 on these. This one was a little more difficult because it's at the end and it wants to catch and hang up on these edges, but it came out and it works. I mean, that's all I wanted to do, is have the bolt head be able to go in. That's it. So, alright, that's enough for that mod. I'll be now assembling the X-axis. Alright, so I got the X on. I just got to tighten a few things. I got to tighten this guy. My X was actually a little loose, I guess, but I tightened that up. I guess it got loose just with disassembly, but yeah, it seems to be okay now. I believe I might have gone a little too far. So what he wants us to do is he wants us to loosen the X carriage bolts, the eccentric nut bolt. I'm not too keen on it, but that's what he wants us to do for the kit, so that you can slide it into the extrusion for a little extra hold, which makes sense. Like I said, I'm not too keen on it, but I did it for the power side. I'm gonna have to undo this and do it for this side too. Only thing is, Mark, I have this thing completely as loose as it'll go, all the way up against the X-axis, and my belts that you gave me, they're pretty taut. I had to work kind of hard to get that belt in there. You might want to include a couple extra millimeters, maybe 1 or 2 millimeters more is really all it might need. But it was definitely a little bit of a bear to get that to seat. Alright. Now I'm gonna take that guy back off and do it all over again. I'll be right back. Alright, so here it is in a majority of all its glory. A few things I'm gonna have to do is, my Bowden tube is not as long as I need it to be, so I'm gonna have to make one that's a little longer. Luckily I have some on hand that is fresh, so I'll have plenty of length. Now, here's something else. This is the stock length of wire that comes from Ender or Creality. Now, if I go all the way up, as far as I'll ever need to go, we have plenty of length of wire. It goes all the way up, hits the extrusion. Obviously I'm going to have to level this, but we have plenty of length of wire to go all the way up if need be. So it's looking like this is pretty much good to go. Like I said, I got to do my Bowden tube and put my bed on, level it, put my bed plate on. Well, you know, put my glass on. But steppers are still not plugged in. That's the only, oh, there's the issue right there. We're going to have this kind of pulled to the side in order for the bed to miss it. Otherwise it might hang up on it. You want to make sure that you have this pulled to the side. Oh, there we go. That's pretty much perfect. It'll just tuck in right underneath the control box. Well, I have the control box pushed all the way back. I'm actually going to show you this because this is kind of a temporary fix until I do the control box that Mark has. I put a zip tie there so that this wire wouldn't get clipped from the case. And then I put another zip tie back here to kind of hold it close to the extrusion without like having it bow out from this zip tie. So what I'm showing you back here, this is the wire that goes up to the X. I'm going to have it right here. It was hanging out back here, and then when it goes all the way up, the bed will hit it. But if you tuck it in right there, the bed's not going to hit it. But I'm going to put something on. Maybe I'll zip tie it to my spool holder. Yeah, that's probably exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to zip tie it to my spool holder so that it stays out of the way. This is my X controls, extruder and all that. But yeah, it looks like I'm pretty well and good here. Maybe I'll have it run with the X-axis wires. I'll tie them together. I'm gonna have to reroute this guy just because I don't like how it's going over in between. But I'll reroute that. But it's overall looking really good. Like I said, just you can follow Luke's guide to level this when you're gonna want to. Also, I'm probably going to redo my Z-binding fix as well, since I had the printer all apart. But it looks like it is good to go. I'm probably going to power it on in a few minutes, and I'll just maybe auto home it. The only thing is this guy. I'm worried about this guy because it's the way it's printed. It already broke once. I had to glue it. So I'm just hoping that when it auto homes, it doesn't smash into it and then break it off. Like it. That's another thing. Don't lean on it when the bed's all the way forward, because the bed's kind of heavy and it will tilt. So maybe even bolting it down to whatever you're putting it on might be a good idea. I'm not going to do that, but it might be a good idea just because when the bed is all the way out, I mean, you are way out. Alright. So. Alright. I think that should do it for this one. I'm going to come back to you in just a second on this same video and and show you power on, maybe even an auto home. Hopefully the auto home doesn't go bad, but it's looking good. Alright, so I'm not going to be doing an auto home. I did level the gantry, and it leveled real quick. Where are we at? Almost 4.5 there, 4. Yeah, it's literally the same on both sides. Yeah. So, ran into a little bit of an issue. I'm not really sure what it is. I'm going to have to troubleshoot. But I am going to end this video for now, because it is 20 minutes long and my phone's starting to die. But the issue I'm having is, maybe, I don't know, maybe the ribbon cable got pinched or something. But when I turn it on, I get nothing on my screen, basically. So here it goes. So the screen doesn't illuminate. The fans come on. That's the hot end fan. The fan's coming on in the control box. But yeah, I'm not really getting anything to my screen. Who knows? Maybe I wasn't careful enough. Maybe I accidentally had one of the steppers plugged in while I was messing with it. And maybe I fried my board. Who knows? But I'm gonna have to look into this. And who knows? Maybe I'll just do an upgrade on the board. All right, the journey continues.